Hey everyone, it's Adam Helfand. Welcome to the podcast. Today I've got Brian Lee from Metro Home Improvement in studio. We're going to be talking about turning your basement into a lower level. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me, Adam.
So a lot of homeowners have houses with basements, very popular. Usually a basement is musty, high moisture, all their high school, old school photos.
Sure.
Storage, and now the trend is turning your basement into a lower level. Are you doing that, a lot of those?
Oh yeah, we do a lot of lower level living space. Yeah, we do a lot of them.
So let's talk about basements to begin with. In the basement right now, typically in a homeowner that doesn't have a finished basement, mechanical room?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hot water heater, furnace, boiler,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
Maybe some storage.
Yeah, very little storage. I mean, what they want to do is they want to capitalize on that space and create a theater room, a wet bar, a gathering place when you have families over for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. You know, they have a nice place to bring everybody down to, and they're not all upstairs.
So when you get a homeowner calling you to take a basement to a lower level, do you ask them, like, what are you going to use it for? Or what is the number one reason why they do this?
So we go on a fact-finding mission with them, say, what do you expect to achieve out of the space? What are you really looking for? And 9 out of 10 times it's the male, right? He's like, hey, I got to have my own space. I want my man cave. I want my theater room. I want to be able to go downstairs and crank the lines up and just have my buddies over and have some beers. I want to put a beer tapper in, and
or my kid's a teenager, and instead of him running around,
right,
I want him in the basement.
I want to put a bedroom downstairs. Okay. It's a multitude of things, but I can tell you every single one, it's just like, let's create this space that we can just enjoy.
It's like a new frontier because basements typically aren't finished when a house is bought.
Right, correct.
Or built,
right,
for that matter. Okay, well, that's good to know. So homeowner brings you over. Obviously, the walls are already there. So you have the mechanical room where that is as well. So pretty much that dictates the rest of the layout, correct?
Yeah. So we go in and we measure the basement. We draw it out on Sketchpad, right? So I have what's called an exterior layout. I spot where the staircase is. I spot where the furnace and the hot water tank are. And then I also look for where the sump pump is. That's key too, because we have to have access to that sump pump. And then once I have it all spotted and laid out, then I spot out where the stanchion poles are, which are the posts that support the beams that hold your house up. And I put those in there, and I've got measurements to show where they are located in relation to the stairs, in relation to the walls.
So you want a functional, usable space.
So what I want to do is I want to take that and I want to create a floor plan to show them what they can actually have.
So let's give the homeowners who are listening right now some tips on what to look for before you even remodel a basement. If it's musty or dark, like you might have mold, or it might have a wet basement. Might not be mold, it just might be high moisture content. How do you know if the basement's going to leak or if it's leaking? Like, do you test for all that?
So what we do is we go downstairs, we do a visualization, we walk around, we take a look at it. I look for large cracks in the walls where we might have to go in and do some epoxy, right? So we drill out the cracks, we fill them, we epoxy them, inject them, and then we get that wall back to a waterproof state. I'm looking for high moisture areas.
So you'll waterproof for the homeowner?
On the inside, yeah. I mean, I'll do a small waterproof. If it's required a large waterproof, then what I do is I refer them to one of the vendors that we work with that does that.
Okay. So you look for if the basement's dry or wet.
Yeah.
Okay. What about efflorescence? It's that white powdery substance you see on block walls, sometimes brick, sometimes out of the concrete. Is that a sign of moisture?
Yeah, it's a sign of moisture, that they've got heavy moisture somewhere. A lot of times it's cured with vegetation on the outside, where you go outside and you build up the vegetation. You build up the garden beds, right? And you put, believe it or not, you put downspouts on the gutters.
Right, and get the water away.
Get it away from the house.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so you've done all the check marks for wetness, dry basement. Homeowners ready. They're going to do a kitchen and a game room with a big couch, and everyone's going to hang out there.
Right.
Bathroom and a bedroom.
Yep.
So what are some of the codes or requirements when a homeowner wants someone who's going to be sleeping down there?
So first and foremost, if you put a bedroom in a basement, by code, by law, which is the Michigan Residential Building Code, and it's a national code, that you have to have an egress window. And that egress window has to be able to allow you to escape if the house were to catch on fire. If the stairs caught on fire and you couldn't get upstairs, how are you getting out of the basement? You're not getting out between a 14 by 30 basement window, right? So we have to cut a hole in that concrete wall from the exterior. We have to excavate out, cut a hole. Then we have to frame it. And then we've got to insulate it, spray foam insulate it. And then I've got to put a drain in, and I've got to put a window well.
So it's extensive process.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So we let them know right out of the gate. That's a $6,000 to $10,000 expense that we have to start with. And the reason I say 6 to 10, some people want them larger. Some people want different wells. There are instances where I'm putting it in and I'm on a sloped elevation and I got to go down further with it. So it requires more work because, I'm up higher, but it's down lower.
Let me ask, what if there's a walkout basement? Does that count?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay, so you can use that as an egress as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So egress windows are an added cost. Obviously, the safety of it is it's a no-brainer for me. You should never compromise safety. If code calls for an egress window, you're putting it in. Part of the budget.
I would never put my family in jeopardy by putting a bedroom in a basement without a window.
Now, an egress window, the word egress means getting out.
Well, there's ingress and egress. Ingress is the ability to get in through that, and egress is the ability to get out.
There's a certain requirement for the size.
I think it's 5.7 square feet overall. You have to be able to maintain.
Okay. So that's important. So once that's included in the budget, then you can start designing around everything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. What about flooring in a basement? Basements might sometimes, some pump could fail. There could be a flood, water, obviously because it's below grade. Are you using or seeing new technology where the flooring isn't carpeting? It's the snap click that's waterproof, mold resistant. Have you seen a lot of that?
Yeah, we do a lot of them with waterproof laminate. But there are so many different variations that a lot of folks don't think of and a lot of contractors don't. We could put a sleeper floor down, right? Which is we could take a 2x4, lay it on end. It would be a womanized 2x4. We can actually insulate underneath that floor with an ISO board, an insulation board, right? Sure. That's waterproof. Install 3/4 inch plywood over it. And then we could do carpeting. We could do padding, right? Automatically, if you're worried about water or moisture.
So I want it to look like a regular floor in a house, not a basement.
Exactly.
So you can do whatever it takes.
I can do whatever it takes. It's just your level of comfort and commitment.
What about the ceiling? When we were growing up, it was sometimes they staple them together like a tongue and groove.
Yeah.
Then there was the drop ceiling. But today, putting drywall on a ceiling in a basement is not a big deal, is it?
It depends on the pipes, right? Okay. If you got a bunch of pipes that are hanging low, you got a bunch of pipes that are actually that are wrapped and stacked to the bottom of the joist, it makes it a lot harder to do it that way. But with today's acoustical ceiling panels that they have and the designs, my God, they're beautiful. And then we're seeing a trend in the last probably 5 to 10 years where we're spraying all the ceilings black.
That industrial look.
We're doing an industrial look.
What about heating and cooling? Can you just run the ductwork? It's already there, put vents in, or should you still run it down the walls and have it from the bottom going up?
I mean, the cost a factor is just running it down and letting them drop down, right? And drop them down where you need them, where they're adequate. And we have a computation that we go through with our HVAC contractor
to see the
amount of volume.
Makes sense to me. So basements popular. How long does that take? Because that's like building a whole room addition. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, when you're pulling permits and you're doing a basement, you're looking anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks.
So that's still quite a bit of time, which I can understand makes sense. Homeowners during the process, materials, job, they can live in the home while you're remodeling.
Oh, of course, they love it because we're downstairs every day. They come home, they open the door to that basement, they run downstairs to see what got accomplished.
And because it's interior work, they can do, you don't have to worry about snow. You don't have to worry about a rainy day.
Absolutely.
You can send guys to work.
Yeah, and they love the fact that we leave all of our saws and our tools there because they know we're coming back the next morning. And we're going to get started bright and early. I never thought of that. What about the people who bought these houses from the production builders that have pre-plumbed basement bathroom that just shows the concrete? You've got a pipe coming up, a drain. Have you seen that? My man, you just know how to stick a dagger in a guy. Yeah, those are the worst. Because they don't follow code, right? Correct. So the national plumbing code says that you got to have 32 inches from center of pipe to wall, right? Well, we've got a bigger generation of people now. So what we do is we move it 18 inches center, 18 inches center. So I have a 36 radius,
Sure.
right? Every time they put the plumbing in those basements from those national builders, the shower plumbing and the toilet plumbing don't meet any codes whatsoever.
So
I have to tear the floor out. I have to move all the plumbing, and I've got to get it all set up.
Some people think, oh my God, the concrete floor, you can tear out a concrete floor, no problem in a house. But people don't realize it's okay.
Yeah.
That pre-design over there, you can change it. You can eliminate it. You can do it your own if you want.
Right.
Not a problem, right?
No, not at all. They throw it in there. They say, hey, we'll plumb it for a 3-piece bath. It's only going to cost you $4,500. And I'm like, it might cost you $4,500, but I got to tear it back out.
So it's, okay. So there's that as well.
Yeah.
Let's give the listener 3 things they should consider when renovating a basement.
Okay. So first, number one thing I would consider is budget. What do you want to achieve downstairs, and how much do you think that you're going to set aside to get it done?
Okay.
So that's number one. You got to have a realistic budget, right? Because at the end of the day, that basement is the exact same size as your house, right? Or one of the floors of your home.
So it's not going to be cheap.
No, you have to take that into consideration, right?
Okay.
If you've got a 2,000 square foot ranch, you got a 2,000 square foot basement. So what am I doing? I'm building a house underneath a house.
But you can also do a section at a time if you need
I can, absolutely.
So save money.
But you have to take that into consideration and
Sure.
pre-plan for it. That's number one. The other thing that I would consider is I'm going to build this beautiful dream for you. You've got your man cave. She's got her family room. You've got a big area dining that's set up. You got a wet bar, right? You've got to furnish it. So you need to think about those items as well, because there's going to be a budget that has to be established with furnishings.
Sure.
Couches, chairs, tables, lamps,
And
lights.
you got to get them down the steps.
Right. That's another one, right? So you got to be able to get that furniture down the stairs. Don't go buy a gigantic sectional that you got to take the legs off and it still won't go down the stairs.
Or big pool table.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a basement where the homeowner calls you up a couple months later and says, I can't get my mattress down. I can't get the bed frame down.
All the time.
So you got to think
all
about
the time.
That.
So when I'm there, originally, we do go over this with them and say, okay, if you're going to use large furniture or you want large furniture, if there's a way that we can make the staircase larger, you may want to think about that before we start the build, because you ain't going to get a pool table down. You're not going to get a ping pong table down. A lot of these guys are doing golf simulators, right? You got to think about that as well.
Right? Oh, yeah, building up a thing. So that's a great sign of a good contractor, one who will make sure, even though he's done with the project, that whatever you're purchasing for furniture, accessories that go down in the basement, that you'll be able to plan for it and get it down there.
And the last thing that I always tell people is design a basement to fit your taste, but don't go overboard with it, because your ROI is still going to be high on a finished basement. But if you start doing crazy stuff like custom cabinetry and all this other nutty stuff, you're never going to get that money back out. Sometimes less is more. A simple, well done, well thought out, tasteful basement.
Keep it simple.
Is going to make you the same amount of money as one where you spend $100,000 on a wine cellar with custom glass doors.
Yeah. You can get the design ideas, the budgets, it could be limitless. You can do whatever you want.
Right. I've had homeowners spend $400,000 on basement remodel. Ooh, that's a lot of money.
I put a bowling alley in a basement.
Did you really?
Uh-huh.
I've never done a bowling alley. I have done a gun range.
Oh, that's even better.
A block wall down the side, lead back walls. Yep, they can shoot away at their heart's desire.
Do you need a permit to put a gun range in a house?
Let's just call it storage, Adam.
Storage. Storage. Well, there you have it, folks. Great information from Brian Lee of Metro Home Improvement. Brian, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
We'd love to have you back
pleasure.
Again soon.
We'd love to come back.
If you want information about Metro Home Improvement, click the link in the bio below.
I did it fast for us. What you got?